Hello and welcome to the latest instalment of GBN America with me, Patrick Christys. Now, I was chatting to this guy just briefly off air. He seems like my kind of guy, so I'm looking forward to this. It's Tim Young, comedian, host, author, anything else apparently. Tim, great to have you on the show. Thank you very much, mate. So this Apprentice film, I've just seen the trailer for it. Now, it's interesting. I don't know what this says about me, but just from the trailer, it seemed to make me like Donald Trump more and want to go and watch the movie. But I'm reading in my brief here that it's an unfavourable take on Donald Trump. Has he been stitched up a bit here? What's going on?
Yeah, look, this is another one of these Hollywood attempts to influence the election by making a propaganda film that is negative against Donald Trump. They're trying to say he's this nefarious, terrible person who's totally phony, yada, yada. It's the same things that our media has been saying for years anyway. I think it's why it's bombing at the box office right now. Nobody needs to see or hear this for the millionth time.
And some of the attitudes in this are quite unflattering. I mean, it even includes apparently an alleged incident of marital rape against his first wife, Ivana Trump. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump tries to sue over this.
I wouldn't blame him for doing it. Again, she said that never happened, and you just watch this over and over again. This is Hollywood taking another swipe at trying to bring Trump down, but they're yelling inside their own echo chamber. So this is the same things that they say to themselves. It's the same things they say on CNN, MSNBC over here, all of the leftist propaganda, all of the Democrats that scream the same things. It's not going to work. It's not going to have the desired effect. It just doesn't make sense other than, it's a waste of money, to the point that actually some of the investors in this film want their money back, apparently.
Yeah, well, indeed, and that's my next question. So apparently some of the funding came from a Trump ally called Dan Snyder. He wanted this film cut after he viewed the final edit of it all. I do wonder, though, whether or not this was a little bit silly, like trusting that Hollywood is going to make a positive portrayal of Trump. I mean, with respect, it doesn't sound like something that is a good business proposition.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly who they would trust in Hollywood to make a good film about Donald Trump or any kind of positive light on Donald Trump. I mean, there's Dennis Quaid, who did the Reagan movie, who just did a Trump rally. But other than that, I don't believe I can name anyone in Hollywood that could portray Trump or even write or produce a movie that would be favorable to him.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, look, just in terms of what bearing this might actually have on the election, do you think it's going to have any impact at all, or is it just going to be, audiences full of people who already despise Trump being fed like seals at a zoo the stuff that they want to eat?
Well, I think the first weekend it made $150,000, which is nothing for a film. I think, if you and I made a film, we could make $150,000. Honestly, if we should just go get somebody to drop millions, right?
Yeah, look, let's do it right now. Let's do a film about Kamala Harris. Okay, so how would that film start? What do you think would be the rough middle, and how would it end?
Well, I think it would be NC-17 to rated X to start the beginning of a career, and then by the end it would be a comedy.
Good stuff. I'm not sure if at some point I would have to say the phrase Kamala Harris would deny that it should be X-rated at the start of her career, but I've said it anyway. So there we go. I mean, so I'm just going to whiz us on really in terms of the next topic I've got on my sheet here, which is Madison Square Garden rally compared to a Nazi rally. I mean, look, everything's compared to the Nazis these days, but former President Trump is facing backlash from New York Democrats ahead of his upcoming rally at Madison Square Garden. Some people have said this is exactly the same as the 1939 Nazi rally held at the same venue. Your thoughts?
No. I mean, again, this is similar to that Trump movie, The Apprentice, that they're putting out. How many times are they going to say he's literally a Hitler? That everyone that doesn't like them is a Nazi? Anyone right of the far left is now, a Nazi or whatever else. This is the same rhetoric we've heard for years. It doesn't work. Other than it seems to radicalize people to try to attempt to assassinate Trump. And I think that rhetoric really needs to stop in America. It needs to stop in the world in general. I mean, listen, the guy was president for 4 years. If he was a dictator, if he was a Nazi, if any of that was true, number one, he'd still be president of the United States, and our gas prices over here would be 79 cents a gallon. But that didn't happen. He's not anything that they've described him as. And again, this is not a Nazi rally. The guy gets up, he makes a couple of jokes, he hurts people's feelings, and all of a sudden everyone on the left wants to scream Nazi.
It's an interesting point that you raise about this drip of information/misinformation about Donald Trump and the rhetoric that was used. I mean, I can remember in the run-up to the last election, there was a load of stuff about how awful this guy is. And then we had, I actually genuinely can't remember a name now, but that female comedian who had the severed head of Trump covered in blood.
Oh, Kathy Griffin.
There we go. How's she getting on?
Not very well.
Okay, fair enough. So that we had a load of stuff. World leaders as well calling him out. I mean, the media over there is. I mean, I say this like in a loving way because I love America, but I mean, like your media is absolutely nuts in terms of some of the things that they say about Trump. And then this guy was actually shot in the ear, but apparently that wasn't good enough. Then he was nearly shot again whilst playing golf. Then apparently he was nearly shot again a few days ago, but they managed to intercept the guy. I can't really think of any other figure in history where we could have 3 totally verified assassination attempts and people would still be coming out and saying that this guy's, an evil monster, he's Hitler, this kind of rhetoric that frankly is only going to encourage more.
Not only that, they want you to memory hole and totally forget about each one of the attempts. They don't want you to pretend that none of this ever happened. It's odd. There was a poll that came out earlier this week that said that for the first time ever, it's like the lowest people trust the media. It's 31% in America. People trust the media. I think it should be lower than that. You have 60 Minutes over here editing Kamala's interviews. Also, CBS News editing Speaker Mike Johnson's interview on Sunday. This is absolute bias from the media. They're trying to control the narrative. They're obviously all left-leaning. We're at a very, very low point in media in America right now.
And I mean, Kamala's just been done for like plagiarizing Martin Luther King, which is probably one of the most on the nose things that you could possibly do. But that I think speaks volumes. So the CBS interview where they just edited it and then the original edit came out. Then you've got that plagiarism stuff. You've got Tim Walz as well, like apparently lying about his military background and stuff. What does it speak to the psychology of these people in the Democrats who think they can just get away with this stuff?
Well, the scary thing is that if this was the 70s or 80s, maybe even early 90s, they would get away with it. We wouldn't have the internet to fact check things. If this was the old regime at Twitter, instead of Elon Musk, they would probably ban some of the information. We saw what happened with, not to go back to Hunter's laptop, but they literally banned and were banning people, including the New York Post, for talking about Hunter's laptop. They want to control that narrative. They don't want anything to leak. And by the way, my favorite edit of this entire weekend was when Tim Walz went pheasant hunting, couldn't load his gun properly. And then when his team put out a video of him, they put a fake gunshot into the video to make it sound like he shot his gun. He never fired his gun at all.
Seriously, I haven't seen that. That's a thing?
Yes.
It's just pathetic, isn't it? I'm sorry. The thing is, we had a flavour of it here with Brexit, where there was a Democrat, we dared to have a democratic vote on something. And the people voted one way, which the establishment and people on the left and people in the media really absolutely hated. And then they spent years trying to overturn it, to demonise it, to say that people were thick, that there was misinformation, all of this stuff. What they could have done originally was just win the argument. And I wonder whether or not that's kind of, again, where we are here with Trump. If America had 4 years of Trump, and now he's run again for the second time after that, surely they should just be able to beat him by now. If he was really Orange Man bad and literally Hitler, then the case against him would be so strong that you could just win. You wouldn't have to do all of this fake gunshot plagiarizing Martin Luther King stuff, would you?
No, or if they would have put up a candidate instead of Kamala Harris who could actually get votes from the Democratic primary. In the Democratic primary, you have a great, actually, I mean, I don't like them, but you have Gavin Newsom, you have Gretchen Whitmer, you have all these people in America who could actually get votes from Democrats, potentially defeat Trump. I mean, even Hillary Clinton, dare I say that name, could probably get at least better polling against Donald Trump than Kamala Harris, so they wouldn't have to lie as much, even though they're going to lie anyway.
I did see Hillary Clinton and Bill putting out some happy wedding anniversary photos the other day, and I couldn't help but wonder how happy that day really was. Yeah.
Kamala's campaign has been such a terrible disaster that Bill Clinton went to a McDonald's for a photo op the other day, and the cashier at McDonald's asked him if he was Joe.
Really?
Yes.
It's that serious. Whereas the irony is, if they'd have asked Joe if he was Joe, he wouldn't have been able to tell you. So that is a problem, isn't it? That is a problem. Where are you at the moment, though, with the polls, and how's it looking, really? Do you think that Trump is on course, or is it going to be a close run thing?
If there's no cheating in America, Trump wins this in a blowout. When you see even polls, you can assume that all of the media organizations, and when you don't have to assume, you can look at the actual polls and the actual the questions that are being asked. they always skew 6 points Democrat, 5 to 6 points Democrat in the polling that they ask. So when you see a 48-48 tie, that means Trump is probably up by 3 points everywhere. I believe that he's got all the swing states locked down. There's a problem in Minnesota. Tim Walz, again, he's the governor of Minnesota here. He shouldn't have to return to his state to campaign. He seems like he's back there every weekend. That's a huge campaign resource waste if you're not dominating that state. So I think Trump has this on lock, and the behavior of Kamala's campaign says that.
And just finally with you, I mean, not to get too serious about things, but yeah, there is a lot at stake, actually. And there's a lot at stake for the world. I mean, I'm here in the UK. We have our own issues with our current leader, who leans quite significantly to the left. You've also, I look around Europe, just over the water from me here, and again, there's some quite significant issues there politically. We also have, problems, right? You've got what's going on in Ukraine. You've got what's going on in the Middle East. You've got the issue potentially with China and Taiwan. This is heavy stuff, right? This is heavy stuff. Do you think it is an exaggeration to say that really the West needs Trump to maybe save itself?
It really does. I think the world needs it right now. The Middle East, Europe, again, who knows what could happen between Putin and Ukraine. You have Israel constantly under attack. We need Trump to be able to at least scare these foreign leaders. The enemies of America and the enemies of the West are as afraid of Trump as leftists are here in this country. And that's why we need him back in office.
And sorry, I said finally before, but I'm kind of mean it now. In your role as a comedian, traditionally, a lot of comedy is very left-leaning. And there was a case for that, certainly in this country, when we had 14 years of a Conservative government. And you could say, well, you're actually just taking the mick out of the people who are in charge of you. Okay, so, it's easy to be left-leaning then. It's considered punching upwards. But I wonder in America, was there a crossover where actually the ridicule that people saw of Trump and the left-wing bias in comedy there actually shifted at all because of how laughable it's been under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? Has there been any shift there, do you think?
The only shift, and when you kind of look at who's like leading, and I hate to say that they're leading in comedy, SNL, Saturday Night Live, was when they pushed Joe Biden out. Suddenly they recognized that he didn't know where he was, and he sniffed women's hair and all of the things that we knew about for years. I will say this, as a conservative comedian, I've done pretty well over the past 4 years. I haven't been canceled anywhere, and I may not get my Hollywood movie, but I make my money. So I'm not concerned about it. I'll be around, but if Trump loses and we lose the West, and all of these speech laws start coming into place, I won't know. Will I be in the gulag first, or will you guys for re-education, and will we get the at least air-conditioned tents there?
Yeah, 100%. Look, Tim, I must say, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you. I've really enjoyed this chat, and I hope to do it again and check in with you. And all the best going forward, mate. And fantastic stuff that you're doing. The wonderful Tim Young, comedian, actor, host, anything else. Tim, until next time.